next lecture. I would like to refer to it as the MTech annual lecture, as we don't very often...
Totally research-driven or totally guided by a research question, but it is a more composed thing, so it will be naturally, or it will be a natural thing that different questions and different aspects will become the research. So the design project in itself can be quite wide and, let's say, holistic, while the research topics are more specific. So this is what we're going to show, especially in the first project, that a whole series of research topics can be derived from one and the same practice. And while in the second project we will show that we're following one specific research project, but other questions pop up even there. So everybody knows what is boring about academic research and publication, so I thought I would say what is cool about it. The genre demands that you are very proper with referencing, which forces you to always be oriented towards your context, to find the guys who are doing similar things as you, and to orient yourself in the field. This is very hard, and we always fail, but that's the intention. That's kind of a cool thing, because you find your landscape where you are in, and you find your colleagues and friends with whom you can exchange your experience, your findings. Personally, at least, I enjoy being referenced as well. That's a very nice thing, but it's also very enjoyable to find colleagues who do something similar as us. And that's, to my mind, quite different from the design culture, at least I am used to, where you get kind of a little bit disappointed if somebody does the same as you. So there's a cultural difference. So whenever I find somebody who does the same as me, I'm very pleased with that. I can look at it and I always find some differences, and it brings always things further. So we are part of a bigger field of knowledge production. And what is typical with academic research is the idea of sharing knowledge. In the moment you have published your thing, you also share it, but you also mark it as your product. So publishing means it's your thing, but you share it. So I really like this kind of things that are baked into scientific or academic publication. And also the idea of that you are standing on giant shoulders, so you're always very aware of that you're not, if you're not Einstein, you're not a genius, so you always feed from other people's work, and you always reference back to that, and you're very conscious about that you're standing on giant shoulders to achieve something a little bit more than was there. Also the peer reviewing, which is very spread and normal within academic publication, is very valuable. So you always get other people's opinions, can be quite harsh sometimes, and you feel like beaten up, but it always, I mean, the really harsh critic is always the best. And Michael was reading my thesis, and I think he was one of the toughest readers for the thesis, actually. There are too many kind people around. So the first project I will show you is it is a educational project. It had an external client, and it was made in a collaboration. This is the most complex, difficult, and challenging project I have done in teaching. The project was commissioned by the Deichmanske Library, which is it's the biggest public library in Norway. It has a main office and 16 smaller locations in the city. It was a collaboration between the Oslo School of Architecture, a studio there, and the HFG Offenbach, the industrial design department there, where Achim Menges teaches. It was facilitated, and I mean the collaboration came, of course, as a result of our mutual membership in Ocean. So this is a very good example of how we have managed to facilitate something across institutions through Ocean. And Ocean has played a moderation role represented by Michael throughout the project. The project or the semesters, the first difficulty we met was that the semesters in Germany and the semesters in Norway are not, they are overlapping, but they are not, don't start at the same time. It's like a big, what do you call it, displacement in time. In Norway we start in mid-August. In Germany they start in end of October, which is quite a big thing. So it was clear that there had to be some kind of planning according to that. Also, the two studios, like the one in Oslo and the one in of Achim studio, we had different perspectives, different agendas, which somehow also solved this situation. In Oslo, we were, or my intention with the studio was to train system thinking, system-oriented design, which means you look at the bigger context, you look at the complexity of relations. While in Germany, Achim's agenda was to investigate and teach and train an integral design approach, which means that I will come back to that, but that means that in Germany they went very far towards the production of the media stations. You see also other other people here mentioned. It's the Inor company in Norway by Ronny Andresen, who is a professional boat builder, who was essential in realizing the project. So in this project, well, first I have to say the main dissemination of this project so far is through a booklet which was made by Achim and students, and it has a full description of the process, the technologies, and the case, but also it has articles by Michael, Achim and me, and by Reinhard Mithassel from the library, putting the whole thing in different perspectives. So, yeah, the design practice, or the practice of the teaching of doing this project has shown to embed several explicit and potential research topics. Well, one is the material research. With this very short time span, we decided very early to base the project on an already existing material research done by Achim Menges and the students in Germany. The project here developed this further. This, the material system we were using and investigating was doing the things we thought it should do with, when it comes to translucency and flexibility for shaping. And so we immediately decided to do that and left out the big research on how to build this stuff. This was one of the moves we had to do, which fortunately was a very good move actually, which saved us a lot of time. So the material research is one, of course, one obvious research topic in the project, and I think the concept for the use of the material was quite unique, and the project developed it further to a professional level, which was not the case before the project, and developed a whole lot of practices around it. I will show these issues later. One thing that really came up as a problem which we partly thought of, but not really thought through, or we did some discoveries in this matter. It was the issues of collaboration. You can imagine two student groups, distant collaboration, different culture, different intentions, different starting points, different time frames. It was super challenging. And we also took note of some serious mistakes we made during that collaboration, which we probably won't do again. Then it's the integral design process that I mentioned before. It's Achim's idea of bringing the designing and the making into a closer relationship. Then it's the system-oriented approach. So the integral design process and the system-oriented approach were kind of the forecasting type of research. You know, you have a question and you have a concept or some ideas or a field you want to investigate and bring it into the project. So these were forecasting design research topics. But also a system-oriented approach to design learning, which is slightly different from, I mean, it's more an educational or a didactic thing. And the discussion about the spatial implications of nested spaces. So these are some of the topics which have been up. There are other topics I will mention. It's like the discussions around the interface, which is not there, should be there. The discussions around the interface, which would be potentially a research topic in itself, and which unfortunately not has been followed up. So if we start with the collaborative design process. As mentioned, different time frames at the different schools, distant collaboration, a limited amount of traveling, 2 or 3 workshops, and especially the time frame made it a challenge. The Oslo group was concerned with analysis and reading the library, and generated quite a substantial amount of material, of background material, which we will come back to, which had to be transferred to the German studio, to the German students. And one error we made, that we totally underestimated the transition of knowledge from one collaborative group to the other. So this was done in the normal way, as you would think you would do it. You would have like lectures. The Norwegian student would lecture to the German student and tell them what they'd done. But I think what really would have been necessary to have maybe a 2-day workshop where you really work together with the new students on the material, so that they establish an ownership to the material. Because